You are live with Get Connected. Mike Agarbo here with my co-host John Beeler. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to one of our new stations. Toronto 640 has picked up not only our Get Connected show, but also our sister show, the App Show, every Saturday. We're excited to have you guys on board. Our show is about getting connected with tech, digital living, smart homes, smart phones. We try to demystify all of that. We try to talk in normal speak as much as we can.
Tech for normal people, as you call it.
Yeah, exactly. So on our shows, we cover all these different types of tech stories. Coming up in today's program, for example, we'll be talking about the Google class action suit. There's 3 suits being launched here in Canada. They're trying to get them together as a class action suit, alleging that Google is trespassing on our digital privacy rights. So we'll be chatting with someone from Greg McMullen Law. Also, how to choose the right processor. It's confusing. I know a lot of kids are going back to school, looking to buy laptops. We're going to demystify all of that for you as well. And the folks over at Intelligent City, we'll be talking with Oliver Lang and how his company is using new technology to build 12-story buildings out of wood. I didn't know you could do that.
I did not either.
Of course, we also cover the latest tech news as well. The big news this week would be all the new Apple announcements, John. And we will be covering those in depth on our sister show, the App Show. So if you want to find out about the new Apple Watch, the new iPads, the new subscription services like Apple Fitness Plus, which is kind of exciting, and how they're bundling them all together, tune into it. You can also check our website out at getconnectedmedia.com to get more info about it as well. But for the Apple users out there, and there's a lot, they have new updates. iOS 14 for the iPhone, and it's big.
And this was actually kind of a surprise too, because I think a lot of times people expect these new iOS, well, any of the Apple products, because it's not just iOS, it's the iPad and it's also the Apple Watch. Those typically get unveiled and launched on the day of the new products.
Yes.
There was no new iPhones this week.
No, which was a surprise.
Yeah. And so, but they did say that iOS 14 and iPadOS 14 and watchOS 7 would all be available the next day afterwards.
Yes.
Which actually caused a bit of a problem for developers.
Yeah, they were mad.
Yes, because they were all scrambling, thinking they had another week or two to finish their apps to get them up to date and submitted, because there is that submission process they still have to go through, right? So, but yeah, so now, you should be able to, if you haven't already, just go into your general, in your system settings, go to the general tab and then software update, and you should see an iOS 14 if it hasn't already prompted you at some point.
So you've been actually using a beta or a test version of it on your iPhone because you're brave.
Yes.
What should people expect? Like, this is a big update, and it's making your iPhone look different.
Yeah, it's a big update, but it's
too many peanuts.
It is a big update, but I think under the hood, it's a lot of sort of tidying up, if you will. There's not a huge amount of new features and things that you're going to experience. Things are going to look a little differently. Things are going to be sort of laid out a little differently. They've changed the fonts, they've changed some of the buttons, they changed some of those types of things. You're going to have things that just work better, like dark mode everywhere. You're going to have a lot more detail on some of the things that you're using as you navigate around.
But the home screen's going to look different if you want.
Yes, if you want. And we've talked about this on previous episodes, but some of the changes that you have basically the ability to customize your home screen. You can put widgets on there now. So you can put the weather, you can put your favorite photos, you can put a clock. If you've ever used an Android phone, you're aware of what this looks like.
Steve Jobs is rolling over in his grave right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the nicest thing that I think that people are going to find is this whole cleaning up of your apps. And again, we've talked about this in the past with the betas, but iOS 14 and iPadOS, cleans up all of your apps and gives you the idea to use an app library, basically a quick search that just searches your local device, doesn't search the internet, doesn't search the app store. It's just like, these are all the apps that you have installed, and you basically don't need to have, screen after screen or folder after folder of all your apps anymore.
So like an Android phone.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you've been using it overall. You like it?
It's been great. Yeah. I mean, I will say there is a ton of things that Apple does that they don't even document. And so every once in a while I'll be using my phone. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know it was going to do that. And I try to keep on top of these things. There's a number of YouTubers out there that they have these giant videos, 50 new things in each beta that was released. I'm like, and you just did this video in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And like, how do you know all these changes? Because some of them are really subtle. Like, they changed the font of this thing, or they made this little tiny button even smaller. I'm like, how did you even notice that? But, because Apple doesn't even document half of these things.
No.
And so it's more of these people are just on top of it. They're exploring it. But I think overall people will have a much better experience. We're also seeing them setting the stage for Apple Silicon with this unification of the sort of the mobile operating systems and the desktop operating system.
When you say Apple Silicon, they're going to make their own chips for everything.
That's right.
So they're not going to use Intel chips in their MacBooks anymore.
Correct. Yeah. So we're expecting to see some new computing devices. Unclear if it's going to be a MacBook or an iMac or something else that is not using Intel inside, as you said, but we're just not sure what it's going to be yet. The developer kit that people can get now, if you're a developer, is basically a Mac Mini with this Apple Silicon chipset inside it.
So they're already trying it out and figuring it out.
They're giving it out or they're selling it to developers to use, but they have to give it back.
You're tuned in to Get Connected, Canada's #1 tech show. We are the most listened to technology show here in the country, and we've got a great program ahead for you. We'll be talking about the Google class action lawsuit. We'll also be talking about how to understand what type of processor to buy for your laptop. Don't forget to hit our website, getconnectedmedia.com, giving away a Samsung Galaxy A51 smartphone. Go to the newsletter tab, subscribe to win. If you're from Toronto or the surrounding areas, tell us where you're listening from. We've got an extra little contest for you as well. Back after this. You are back with Get Connected. Mike and John here in studio. If you've been following the news in the past week, you might have read somewhere that Google is being sued in 3 provinces in Canada here, including British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec. And for a variety of different reasons. And we're going to dive into this and find out why. And I'm pretty excited. We've got a really great guest on the line. His name is Greg McMullen. He is with Greg McMullen Law. And he is one of the fellows and law firms that has initiated this lawsuit. Greg, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, it's a real pleasure.
So I just want to get right down to the brass tacks here. From a legal perspective, you were one of the persons that has actually initiated this. On what grounds are you suing Google?
So the claim is being brought by a group of law firms across the country, as you said, here in BC, in Ontario, and in Quebec, advancing kind of a national class of people who have we say had their data collected by Google without their knowledge or consent. So the claim alleges invasions of privacy under various provincial laws, trespass under common law across the country, and violations of federal competition law as well as provincial consumer protection law.
On a variety of fronts, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I mean, why are you doing this? Did you wake up one morning and like, God, I hate Google. I'm going to take them down.
No, I actually really like Google. I use Google every day. I rely on it pretty heavily to find the information that I need. What I don't like is the fact that this information is, we're alleging, being collected without people knowing about it. Tracking their movements across the internet and building these really in-depth personal profiles of people's demographic information, of things like their age group, their gender, where they're based, but then also really sensitive stuff like their hobbies, their interests, their sexual orientation. And we think that this is just a bridge too far.
I think, Greg, your Google stuff's going to stop working pretty soon.
Haven't had any problems yet.
Don't we already know this, though, Greg? Like, I have this assumption that they're just taking all that information. They're giving me all this free web search, and in return, I know nothing's free. I know they're collecting information on me.
Right. So I think everyone has some sort of sense that there is some kind of data being collected. Like if you go to Google to do a search, you're searching for, say, a new refrigerator, you buy your refrigerator, and then ads for refrigerators follow you for the next 6 months. But I think what we're really upset about here is the fact that we don't really have a choice about this. No matter whether you use Google or not, information is being collected whether you use Google services as you travel across the internet. And the claim alleges that the Google is actually quite deceptive about the way that it goes about this. And the consent that people, Google will say gives, we say that that consent can't actually be valid.
And why is that?
It comes down to the way that Google represents how they do data collection. So the claim alleges that Google presents all of these different choices. They say, well, you can turn on incognito mode, or you can use do not track. Do not track is actually a great example of this. Do not track was implemented in Google Chrome, Google's web browser. So it looks like you have this really nice option where you can tell websites not to track you. But Google hasn't actually implemented do not track in its ad tech stack. So on one side, they're telling you, we'll let you tell ads not to follow you across the internet. But then on the other side, doing exactly that.
And I think that's kind of the interesting angle that this particular suit is claiming, is that even if you've opted out of, like a Google sign-in somewhere, you're still being tracked, and they're still creating internal profiles about you that they can use for their own advertising means, that you really have no choice to opt out of, because this is all part of the Google Analytics system that's tracking all your web movements as you go around, because almost every website uses Google to track those things.
Wouldn't the onus be on the website owner then? Like if the Gap.com is using Google Analytics, isn't that their problem then? Or is it Google's?
Well, Google is complicit for sure in this, and they're providing the service that all these companies use, us included. We use Google Analytics on our website so we can see who's coming to our site so we can make the content better. But other companies use it to sell you more whatever.
So, Greg, I mean, this is a pretty big undertaking. What do you hope to get out of it? Are you looking for money? Are you looking for them to change their ways?
We would definitely like them to change their ways. I think the claim actually asks for an injunction to say that you should probably stop breaking the law in the ways that we've alleged that they do. I think there should also be remedies for the violations that have gone on. There's a number of different claims here, and each of them gives typically financial remedies to the people who've been harmed.
Did I read somewhere that the Quebec lawsuit was looking for $50 million? Is that correct?
I'm not quite sure what damages the Quebec suit is seeking. We haven't actually stated a number for what damages we think are probably owing.
And how has this had any precedent? Like, what about other countries? Has anyone else taken them to task for this?
There's a similar class action proposed class action, I should say, underway in the United States, where they are focusing more on incognito mode and do not track. So kind of a more limited claim than the one that we're advancing. And the European Union, of course, has always been pretty on top of things with respect to Google and data privacy. there haven't been, the system works a bit differently there. It's the data protection offices in Europe that actually kind of advance these claims there. So the class action thing hasn't happened there, but the same issues are certainly being addressed.
Obviously, you're going to be optimistic about this, but like, really, what are your chances of this advancing? Like, the next step is to have it classified as a class action. Like, what are the odds? Like, what percentage chance are you giving for that?
We don't really like to give percentage chances. I think we have a pretty good shot at getting the action certified.
Yeah.
I think when it certainly advances new arguments in law. So it's far from a sure thing, but I think it's time. These companies that do data collection, Google is of course just one of them. There's five companies really that are kind of huge and controlling the tech sector, and I think there's issues with all of them in different ways. The data issues with Google, though, I think are especially ripe for being addressed now.
We're talking with Greg McMullen. He is with Greg McMullen Law. He is launching a lawsuit against Google for a number of privacy information issues that he's identified, and hoping to get that into a class action lawsuit. Where can people find more information about you, Greg, and what you're up to here before Google takes you off the internet?
Well, I really don't think that's going to be the case. I think that might even be a bit too far for anyone. So hopefully I'm right on that.
Yeah.
They can find me at gregmcmullen.net, and they can learn more about the action at branchmcmaster.com, where all of the, it's another one of the firms involved, and more information about the claim and the various court filings will be posted there at some point.
Thanks for joining us today, Greg.
Thank you for having me.
When we come back from the break, we've got a lot more to talk about here on Get Connected. We'll be chatting with the folks over at Intel about how to choose the right processor and computer. I know I get confused even when I go into a computer store trying to figure out what all the different processors mean. Well, we'll demystify that for you. Back after this. You are back with Get Connected. Mike and John here. Well, if you are in the market for a new desktop or laptop computer, you're obviously either getting that online or going into a computer store of some type, but sometimes it's confusing. I know even for myself, I've been in the tech game for a long time. There are like a lot of different processors on these different laptops and PCs. Well, we're going to hopefully demystify that a little bit to help you understand which one is the right one for you. Today, we've got a great guest. Her name is Lisa McManus. She is an account executive over at Intel. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. It's an exciting time right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an exciting and weird time. It must be a good time for you guys because everyone's working from home.
Yeah, it's been a real challenge for everybody. And I think people are really stepping up to the plate here, right? Like trying to make the best of what they have at home and work and play. So it's really challenging. Everyone's doing a great job, I think, managing through this.
Well, let's just kind of get into it. And we're going to use some techie terms here, and hopefully we can talk in plain English as well as we're going along. When people are looking at a computer, whether that's online or in a computer store, obviously the processor is an important component of it. It's basically kind of the brains and the power behind, the computer that you're looking at. So what are some of the base processors that people are looking at right now?
Yeah, I'd say, we sort of have a step-up version, let's say. So, for folks that are buying Chromebooks for kids at school, that's very simple use. We have Pentium and Celeron. And then as you get a little more complex, you sort of amp up the power of the CPU. So you would look at an i3. And then if you get more into the gaming side and maybe a lot of multitasking, you're looking at an i5 or an i7. And we even have an i9, which is like for the super duper gamers. So there's a lot out there and it is challenging, but we can make it simple.
Okay. Yeah, I think, when you talk about i3, i5, i7, i9, I think people can wrap their heads around that. Obviously, the higher the number, the faster it's going to be. It's interesting. You're just talking about Chromebooks, which God help you if you need to try to buy one right now. They're like a very short supply. But I think people are probably familiar with the Pentium and Celeron name. You still have those kicking around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they're refreshed continually as we, it's amazing when you think of all the technology and the changes, we have to upgrade everything all the time. So it's continually being refreshed, introduced. We just introduced a new Pentium Gold, as a matter of fact. So, you've definitely got premium quality CPUs that, just because they are the start of the stack, they're really great CPUs. So definitely Pentium and Celeron are out there, both in Windows devices as well as Chromebooks.
Cool. So let's talk about, you mentioned the i3, i5, i7 are probably kind of more of the common ones. What's kind of the middle of the road? And when I say middle of the road, what's the one that I think most people would be looking for? Like if you're a student or someone just wanting to get some work done, like word processing, spreadsheets, looking at photos, emails, that kind of stuff, web surfing.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that the most popular one is probably a Core i5 device. So Core i5 is sort of that middle ground where you can get very powerful Core i5 devices, so that if you're multitasking, like you said, if you think of your PC, when you look at the bottom row and you can see Windows, you can see Outlook, you can see PowerPoint, you can see Adobe, you've got a lot of stuff running, right? So for most folks, they may not realize it, but they actually use a lot of computing power. So an i5 is a really good place to be because it's powerful enough to really help you do that multitasking, enough cores, enough threads. So I think that, would be a go-to for most folks these days, particularly as everybody's working, playing from home, learning from home. That really helps you address all those needs in a great price point.
And so then as you kind of move up, i7 gives you a little bit more power. I would imagine that probably be a little bit better for gaming and if you wanted to get into things like graphics and video editing.
Yeah, exactly. So anytime you do editing, like photo editing, video editing, or if you want to, say you want to play stream at the same time, like you're playing, you want to stream your play, you do need a little more complex power. So that's where you look at the higher end i5s, but i7 is probably the right place for you, particularly if you're a gamer, amazing on AAA games. And then the i9 is that sort of super bump. But I would say that's a great point to be, that if you're a gamer, you want a really good CPU that's going to allow you a lot of frames per second, which for gamers out there, they know that's super important. And we just introduced a new one that's had a huge jump in 2 times frames per second. So that's an important part if you're a gamer for sure. But even if you're using complex software, say you're an engineer or you're a designer, you still need that i7 sort of power to help you do all that editing and the video editing much, much faster than prior generations.
So we were talking again about Intel processors, the i5s, which kind of, I think, are probably for most people out there for, normal use. Is there a price range for these computers? And I know it varies depending on, how big the storage drive is and, big the screen is and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say that you're probably looking, starting maybe about $599, $649. That's probably, a sweet spot between $599, let's say $699. You get a lot of choices from all the vendors, so the HPs, the Lenovo's, Dell's, Acer, Asus's of the world. You're going to get an option there. And it's a really good point you brought up, because folks may not always realize that, sometimes when there's an extra, a little higher price point, you're getting different technology. You're getting maybe an extra, larger memory or a bigger SSD. So it's important to look at the configuration when you're making your decision, because you may not want to save the, $20 if maybe, you could get so much more. So it's really important to look at and people hate details, but sometimes it's nice to look at the details and really understand what you're getting for your money.
And then, when we get into the i7s and i9s, those are typically, those computers, laptops, desktops are in the $1,000 plus range, I imagine, right?
You know what? We've actually, the last, and it's amazing time right now, but back to school is a great time. We've seen, and last holiday, we've even seen i7s starting at some days on Black Friday deals for like $799. So you really, if you're a good shopper and you keep your eyes out there, you can definitely get versions from $800 and up. So it's really something that if you have an extra few dollars, it's challenging right now to have those extra dollars, I know, but if you can afford it, sometimes it's better to spend the extra $100 or so, but they do start about $800. So that's a great price point for an i7.
I always tell people to buy whatever you can afford. And if you can, just go a little bit higher, because that's only going to just make that laptop or device last longer if you get a little bit more power behind it.
But Lisa,
no, that's excellent advice because, sorry.
Yeah, I guess that dovetails into my next question, Lisa. How long should people expect computers to last now?
Well, you know what? The good thing about engineers is they always over-engineer everything, right? So the majority of computers can last a very, very long time. But what might not last a long time is the great experience, right? So right now you see folks pulling out devices that are 5 years old because they need 5, because everybody's home or working from home. So, while the devices last, what changes is technology. So I would say, you're going to get probably 2 or 3 years out of a device and be very happy with the performance. However, once you go beyond that, the technology really continues to evolve. So it's important to really look at what you have and target 2 or 3 years. But past that, then you start to get impacted by, the beautiful streaming that we have today is different than it was 5 years ago or 4 years ago. So that should really drive your experience. But yeah, 2 to 3 years, I think, is a great return on investment.
Well, I mean, you made a great point there with the streaming. Now we're all streaming 4K video on
right.
Netflix and YouTube and what have you. In 2 or 3 years, that's probably going to be 8K, which obviously is going to demand a lot more of the processor and the computer itself. Okay, so we've talked about some of these processors from Intel, the i3, i5, i7, and i9. But there's another designation on these as well, like what generation they are. And I think the current one's been the 10th generation, but you guys have now announced the 11th generation of some of these chips.
Yeah, it's really exciting for us. So for notebooks, we're on the 11th generation. For desktops, we're on the 10th generation. So the 11th generation just literally launched September 2nd. So super exciting. We'll be seeing it in retail at Christmas time. But some amazing improvements to the 11th gen. What we've got now is a 20% productivity increase, which means you can do more things faster. So really incredible. 20% is really a huge jump for CPUs. Video improvement. So as everyone's doing videos, whether it's to keep in touch or work or play, we've got, improved background blurring. We've got improved noise reduction, noise management, as well as better microphone speakers. Thunderbolt 4 is one of the key features for the 11th gen. And as you guys know, Thunderbolt 4 basically covers all elements of the past types of Thunderbolts and all the USB connectivities, right? Thunderbolt basically simplifies everything, one connector for everything. And then there's Wi-Fi 6. So as you're streaming and playing, if you have a Wi-Fi 6 enabled router, you get much better, 3 times as fast, basically, connectivity. So it just changes your experience altogether. For those that are creative folks, video editing is 2 times faster, photo editing almost 3 times faster. And as you mentioned, it supports 8K display now. So we've got 8K displays out there. 11th gen helps you manage that as well. It allows for 4K videos to be attached, the displays to be attached at one time. So I've got 2 right now. I don't know how many you guys have, but 11th gen allows 4 4K displays.
Are you throwing down right now, Lisa? That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. The ultimate Uber nerd. Lisa, that's you mentioned a bunch of things in these processors right now, which I think a lot of people don't think about. You're talking about the 11th generation of laptop processors from Intel. You've got things built in there like the Wi-Fi and the graphics are all kind of part of the package now.
That's right. Actually, the 11th gen, we've introduced Intel Iris Xe graphics. So, it's a really greatly enhanced graphics, integrated graphics solution. But yeah, you're right. It's all part of it, right? All those elements of what people use every day is generally driven by the CPU design. So it's a great point, for gamers, for example, like this 11th gen is 2 times the performance, right? And sometimes gamers may not, hardcore gamers would know that, but for everyday gamers, they may not realize that how important the CPU is, right? So yeah, everything, the graphics has been incredibly improved, even power consumption, right? Like all the developments, we obviously work with all our partners, all the manufacturers, but it's a joint co-engineering effort, and it really does make a big difference these days.
We're talking with Lisa McManus from Intel, all about Intel processors, how to choose them when you're hitting the computer store. A lot to think about there, Lisa. I want to thank you for helping talk through some of this stuff and hopefully demystifying it for the listeners out there. Obviously, people can find out more information at your website.
It's Intel.CA. I did want to mention with our 11th gen introduction, Intel's also driving what we're calling the Evo platform. And what the Evo platform is basically a second version of our Athena. And Athena, really the intention was that is to have a brand name that people can look at and know they're getting the very best of every element of a computing device. So what we're doing is we're verifying the specs. We're verifying a minimum of 9 hours of battery life. We're verifying fast charging, 4 hours and under, 30 minutes, less than a second wake up. We have about 25 different elements, and Evo is bringing that all together, and we'll see that launched in holiday too. But it's basically in an i5 or an i7 device that you can be guaranteed that it's the best possible device for you. So great opportunity, for folks that are looking to buy in holiday. Evo is a great, it's a great partnership we have with all our OEM partners.
So kind of like your stamp of approval, making sure that everything inside that laptop works together perfectly.
Exactly. At the very maximum that's possible, right? Whether it be battery life, quality, sound, everything is sort of like the best of the best in an Evo device. So pretty exciting for holiday, I think. Hopefully it'll be a very exciting experience for users.
Thanks again for joining us, Lisa.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and stay safe.
When we come back from the break, more tech to talk here on Get Connected. Stay tuned. You're back with Get Connected. Mike and John here. Stay tuned tomorrow for our sister show, the App Show, where we're going to be going in depth on all the Apple announcements this week, including the new watches, the iPads, the subscription services. We thought we'd do a quick roundup right now, though.
Yeah, well, one thing we didn't really talk about tomorrow is what we're personally interested in.
Yes.
Right? The watches are cool. I already have a Apple Watch Series 5.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be upgrading. Spoiler
to the
alert.
new 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what really caught my eye was the new bands that they have.
You're just excited about the watch bands.
Well, the thing is, it gives you an option to refresh your watch with a new band, and they have this new design that's really quite clever.
The solo band,
the solo loop band, and then the braided solo loop band,
like a one-piece band, no clasps or anything.
That's right. You pull it on like a bracelet.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that'll be good or not. Like,
do you remember those old bands that kind of stretch, the metal ones?
Yeah.
With your old Timex watch?
I hated those because you used to get caught on my arm hair.
Yeah, totally. These don't have that same kind of the kinks there, but you have to pick the right size though. How many sizes are there? 12?
12 different sizes.
And so to do that, you've got to download a piece of paper.
There's a PDF you have to download. You print it out, and it looks like a ring sizer. And you wrap it around your wrist after you cut it out. You have to make sure that the PDF is not scaled in any way. As we'll be talking about.
Because that won't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and not everyone's printer is the same. So,
yeah.
But at least it gives you an idea. But I think what most people will probably do is just try it on in a store, which in COVID land, I don't know how they're going to do that. I guess dip it in sanitizer afterwards.
Just drink some Lysol.
Yeah.
Like Trump.
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really like that. What I didn't like though was the price. The solo loop itself is $59, which is pretty average for an Apple band.
Yeah.
But then the braided one is $120. It's twice as much.
Well, I guess you can wait for the Chinese knockoffs.
That's right.
They'll be a little bit cheaper. I'm excited about the subscription services they announced.
Yeah, you haven't stopped talking about it.
Well, I just think it's like, because I'm already spending stupid amounts of money with Apple already, right?
Yeah.
So I'm subscribing to a family plan on Apple Music. I've got various iCloud monthly subscriptions that are adding up on there as well.
Well, it definitely seems like these bundles, even if you're not currently subscribed to a couple of these services,
Yeah.
you get so much more for basically less money than you would be paying.
Yes.
And I know Graham's going to go into his sort of shopping list of what he's currently paying for and how much he's actually going to be saving on the app show tomorrow. So
here's the thing. They've announced a really big one, the new Fitness Plus.
Yeah.
And this is kind of exciting for me. It's $10 a month. It works in conjunction with your Apple Watch and any Apple device, iPhone, iPad, Apple TV. And you can watch streaming video workouts from beginner to advanced, treadmills, stationary bikes, weights, dance, yoga, and
chasing your dog.
Chasing you're good at that.
Yes. Chasing your dog.
Chasing my dog. So that's kind of appealing. So right now I'm spending $15 a month on Apple Music. I want to get that fitness subscription. That's another $10. But then they've got a package now coming this fall. I think it's $32,
$33.99, I think.
$33.95.
95. Yeah.
And so for a family, and you get 6 accounts, and you get Apple Music, you get their TV Plus subscription service. You also get Apple Arcade. You get 2 terabytes of iCloud storage for the whole family. You get News Plus. And I don't think a lot of people know about News Plus. It's a really cool subscription service that gives you a bunch of newspapers like the Globe and Mail, the Star, Wall Street Journal, and dozens of magazines.
Yeah.
Like popular magazines that you can read on any of your devices.
What I'm curious about, though, because last year when you bought a new iPhone, they gave you, or any Apple device, you got Apple TV Plus free for a year.
Yes.
I wonder if that's going to go away going forward.
Well, I think what they'll do is they'll probably get you into one of these plans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's probably going to be time to only start up when everyone else's Apple TV Plus is ending. So basically they'll still have that subscriber base.
Yeah.
Because it's basically free with the bundle, you know?
Yeah. So that premier package, music, TV, arcade, iCloud, News Plus, and Fitness Plus, which is coming later in 2020, $33.95 for the entire family.
For 6 people.
For 6 people to have all of that.
Can you just add me to yours?
No, I got one of my dogs. He's got a very particular set of playlists on Apple Music he wants. But it's not bad value.
No, I mean, when you add up all the things, you can probably save $20 or $30 a month if you have all those on a family plan.
Yeah. So that's the premier version. They do have a family plan version as well for $20.95 a month. That includes music, TV Plus, arcade, and iCloud.
Yeah.
That was not as compelling to me.
No, because basically for the price of the Fitness Plus, you get News Plus for free.
Yeah. So,
and you also get 2 terabytes in the Premiere versus 200 gigs on iCloud.
We're going to have to take a break. Don't forget to hit our website, GetConnectedMedia.com, giving away a Samsung Galaxy A51. Go there, enter. Good chance to win. We'll see you after the break. Well, that looks like most of the time we have left for the program. I want to thank you for tuning in today. Also want to thank our new Toronto listeners. We're excited to have you on board. We want you to visit the website as well. It's getconnectedmedia.com. Lots of great stuff up there, including all our audio and video podcasts of this show. Also our sister show, The App Show, which is also on Toronto 640 as well. It's a great program all about mobile tech, smartphones, and the best apps for all your devices, whether that's your phone, your TV, your car, your tablet, your computer. Everything's got apps now. Again, I want to throw out to our contests. We're giving away a Samsung Galaxy A51 smartphone. This is a beautiful phone from Samsung, latest Android phone, beautiful camera. If you want a chance to win, hit the website, getconnectedmedia.com. And we've got a secret contest.
That's right. Just make sure that you let us know how you heard about us when you're doing your subscription. And if you're in the Toronto area, you'll be entered into a secondary draw. That's all the time we have left. I want to thank everyone that helps put the show together. Of course, John, my co-host and producer, Christina, our other main producer, and of course, Stephen back at the ranch, who somehow puts us all together for the website and the video podcasts. We'll see you again next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. And you know that little bell icon? Hit that and you'll be notified every time we post a new video. And comment. The more comments and the more likes and subscriptions we get, the more videos we can make.